The cramped conditions in the spacecraft meant that there were further selection criteria. Astronauts had to be a certain size and shape. To be able to fit into the space capsule, they must be less than 170 centimeters and weigh less than 70 kilograms. The selection criteria even specified what the pilots looked like. Candidates were told that only those who were decent-looking need apply. There was even a regulation on how the candidates snored.
落地速度稍大了一点，
还行，挺轻还。
对得起，这就太近了。
接地气还挺行。
The selection and training of China's first astronauts took place in a specially built facility in a restricted area of Beijing district. Being an astronaut required more than just superior piloting skills. Astronauts are required to have extraordinary levels of physical and mental fitness.
这个时间是1300秒阶梯。
Over 1,500 candidates met the original criteria. They were first cut down to 600. Then they were trained and tested again and again. By 1998, the candidates had been whittled down to just 14. They would be China's first astronaut corps. The selection process was long. To find the best candidates, balance, motor skills, physiology, and psychology were tested relentlessly.
山西省运城市人，31岁，共飞行954小时18分，一级飞行员。
Nutritionists kept strict control of the astronauts' diets. The 300 items of food on the menu were carefully chosen, and even more carefully monitored. It was weighed as it left the kitchen, and leftovers were weighed coming back. The nutritionists even claimed to have secret recipes to enhance performance. It took 5 years to make an astronaut. The candidates were subjected to a constant barrage of mental, physical, and psychological tests. Their workload was intense. They spent 1,600 hours just in the classroom. They spent even more time in training and in tests, working from early morning to late at night.
我们今天练呢，主要是青岛的这个180度吧，就是180度状态下的这个训练。我们考虑到呢，前几次的返回呢，基本就是这种状态。
Even more demanding was the physical side of the training. Astronauts practiced how to fly their spacecraft in many conditions, while they were weightless, and when they were subjected to excessive gravitational force. In order to prepare them for any eventuality, they had to learn how to cope with excessive noise, strong vibration, and oxygen deficiency. Just getting out of the capsule required special training.
动摇可以随时监视舱内的温度，舱内的温度计不要关，可以随时放到随时可以监视的地方。
The intended landing zone for the space capsule is on land, but there's always a chance the capsule will land in water. The emergency drop zone is in the Sea of Japan, so the astronauts have to train to touch down both on land and on water. Before leaving the spacecraft, the astronaut must change out of his spacesuit and into a special survival suit. It's designed to protect the astronaut for at least 12 hours if he has to abandon his craft. The space capsule is buoyant. If it lands on water, it floats like a bottle. It's safe, but not comfortable. astronauts continued flying too. Around the world, astronauts are selected from pilots, not just because fighter pilots are in superb physical condition. Already trained in flying mode, they are experienced in making accurate decisions with split-second timing. The astronauts were trained to parachute as well. Not because they were expected to leap out of the space capsule in an emergency, but because parachute training was a test of stamina and character. Some of the most important training was also some of the shortest. Weightlessness training is central to learning how to function in space. The Chinese astronauts had to go to Russia to get it. The Russians artificially recreate the weightlessness of space in a specially modified airplane. By flying in steep parabolas, brief periods of weightlessness are created. The plane glides in free fall from a height of 10,000 meters. Each parabola creates a period of weightlessness lasting 25 to 28 seconds. Each training flight consists of around a dozen parabolas, and each astronaut went on 4 flights, spending around a total of only 25 minutes in weightless flight in their 5 years of training. What looks like fun is actually a test of endurance. The alternation of extreme G-forces with weightlessness wears out both trainers and astronauts. While the astronauts were going through intensive tests and training, so too was the hardware that would carry them into space. Although China had successfully launched satellites into space, launching a manned space vehicle was altogether different. Satellites only weigh a couple of 100 kilos. A manned orbital vehicle weighs 8 tons, and it has to return to Earth. The first successful flying attempt was in November 1999, but more tests still lay ahead before astronauts could be launched into space. The astronauts' durability had to be tested as well. Even with its parachute, a space capsule falls at 8 meters per second. That's the same as a car hitting a wall at 28 kilometers per hour. It takes special training to survive the jolt. Like airline passengers, astronauts are taught the brace position. But unlike airline passengers, they have to use it for every landing. The forces at impact are huge. Those forces are replicated in training. The astronauts are tested at 15 times normal impact.